Welcome to the Careers by Jen podcast, episode 268. This time on the podcast, Jen reviews 5 ways you are wasting space on your resume. I know I was able to get a lot more information into my resume when I changed to a 6-point font and 1 centimeter margins.
You're listening to the Careers by Jen podcast. I'm your host, Jen Swanson. This is the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. Careers by Jen is a listener-sponsored podcast, and if you like the content, please consider supporting the show as a patron. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Head over to CareersbyJenn.com and click on Support to learn more. Likely, if you have worked at all in your life, you have enough to fill up the 2-page maximum of your resume. But what happens if you have too much? What items do you have on your resume that maybe you don't need to have on there? Items that are wasting valuable real estate, as I like to say. Well, we will get into that in this episode right after this.
You've updated your resume, you've sent it out, and you've been selected for an interview. Congratulations! And now, you want to get ready. Really ready. This is where Careers by Jen can help. We have a comprehensive online course called How to Ace a Job Interview When You Haven't Interviewed in a Long Time. This video-based course is jam-packed with information, advice, and exercises to help you get completely prepared to walk into an interview situation with confidence. From exactly what to prepare in advance, to how to answer common questions, to what questions you might ask the interviewer, and so much more, this course is designed to get you ready. Visit CareersbyJenn.com and click on Training Resources to see the curriculum, preview a couple of the introductory lessons, and see what others who have taken the course are saying about it. Visit CareersbyJenn.com and get ready to ace your next interview.
Hey friends, welcome to the show. The Careers by Jen podcast is brought to you from the unceded and traditional territory of the Salish people, including the Matsquit, the Kwantlen, and the Katzie First Nations. We are grateful for their care and stewardship of this land down through the generations. Not sure what it's like where you are today, but we are choking through the tremendously heavy smoke that has drifted up to Canada here from all of the fires on the west coast of the U.S. We have had a terrible fire ourselves this week in the original capital city of this province, New Westminster, BC, which has only added to the horrible air quality. And so we're not going outside, we're not even opening the windows, and our postal service has even been suspended, and sporting events for kids and recess and all the things that normally we would do outside. It is just socked in and quite something out there. So I'm feeling very badly for all of you who may be affected by the horrific fires. I'm feeling really sad for all of those who have lost their homes and their animals, and even in some cases family members. So let's hope and pray that the firefighters can get these fires under control soon, and that people can start putting their lives back together again. What a year, hey? What a year. Well, our topic today is 5 ways you are wasting space on your resume. Now, if you are brand new to the workforce, this might not be a problem. And you might want to include the things or some of the things I'm going to mention just to get a full page. But if you've been working any number of years and need to redo a resume for a job search, there are some items that are just wasting space on your resume that I want to talk about, because you can use the wasted space much more efficiently and effectively without these things. And that, my friends, is the name of the game. Effective and efficient. All right, so before I dive in, I wanted to remind you that I'm also now producing quick career tip videos on my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to take a look, they're really short. They're 15 minutes or less. I don't think any of them are 15 minutes. They're less than that. and you can find them in the link on the website under resources. It's a little bit harder to find it on YouTube at the moment. I'm waiting till I get 100 subscribers so that I can change the name of the channel. I think right now it's The Jen Swanson or something. But if you can go over to YouTube, I would love for you to check it out. And if you like it and subscribe to it. And hopefully by the time I get to 100, I can then change the channel name so that it is Careers by Jen and everything matches. So that's my goal at the moment. So I hope that these little videos are inspiring and helpful. I'm hoping to put at least one out a week, if not two. And if you have a minute, I hope you'll check it out. All right, let's get to our 5 things. 5 things to stop putting on your resume or that are wasting space. The first thing is that dang old objective statement. The assumption as to why you have submitted a resume in the first place is because you want to get a job at that company. You do not need to include an objective statement. In fact, they are ignored. They are boring. They are usually not read, and they are a complete and utter waste of real estate. Instead, highlight your key competencies or your skills in that space, or a summary of your competencies and your skills. And do these with bullet points or some kind of shortened formatting. You don't need complete sentences. This is the first way you can save space. Skip that objective statement. Even if you don't have much to put on the resume, including it is a bad idea. It's very, very outdated, very, very old school. So no objective statement. Thank you. The second thing are hobbies and interests. Now, unless your hobbies and interests add value to your application and you happen to have room for them, I say don't bother. Don't waste the space. You can offer these up in your interview if you are asked, or you can even have something in your virtual interview background if you're doing a virtual interview that speaks to your hobbies and interests if you really want to. So, for example, if you love to travel, you might have travel books on the bookshelf behind you, or you might have framed photos of places you've been in your background. You can do all sorts of amazing things if you're doing a virtual interview. And actually, one of my quick career tips on YouTube is all about how to prepare for a virtual interview, so you can check that out. But seriously, your hobbies will not make or break you getting the job in most cases, unless you have some death-defying hobby that might land you in serious trouble and they don't want to take the risk if you're a cliff jumper or something. I don't know, but they're interesting, sure. They're probably more interesting to you, though, than they are to the person that's hiring you. So I once saw a person include her elementary school and high school dance awards on a resume. And this was not a high school student applying for a high school kind of job. This was a college student looking for summer employment in a, grown-up kind of job. And so this inclusion made it seem like she was living in her past childhood glory days. It was, honestly, it reflected badly. And I'm sure it was wonderful that she won all these dance awards. It had nothing to do with the job she was applying for. So leave hobbies and interests off unless you happen to have loads and loads of space, or the hobby or interest happens to have some kind of direct relevance to the position you are seeking. I'm not talking about volunteerism here. I'm talking about your extracurricular hobbies and, things you're interested in that have nothing to do with the work you're applying for. So be wary of that. The third thing, and I can already tell this is going to be a shorter episode here. The third thing that you don't need to waste space with is a photo of yourself or fancy resume formatting. Now, in some countries, I have come to learn that resumes with photos are expected and required, but not so in North America. So if your country requires a photo of you on a job resume, on an application, disregard what I'm about to say. But if your country does not use that, if that is not the typical or the norm where you live, then don't put a photo in. It takes up a lot of space. It makes for biased hiring in some instances, and it is unnecessary. If a hiring manager wants to see what you look like for whatever reason, they can check out your LinkedIn profile, which you should have, or your social media profiles. And hopefully you have a really good picture of yourself somewhere on there. But don't waste space in your very limited resume. Your resume has a particular function, and pictures of yourself and what you look like is not relevant. The other thing to think about is the formatting on your resume. Now, some resume templates look spectacular, like works of art. They've got blocks of color and geometrical designs. And you know what? That's great, but only if you can fit everything onto it. And frankly, if it's a machine, if it's an automated tracking system, if it's a machine doing the initial scan of who they're going to look at further and who they're going to reject, the computer can't make out the writing as well sometimes if fancy formatting is present, because sometimes the computer can't read what's on there as well as it could if it was just plain text. So it can actually be to your detriment to have something that is too artistic or too fancy. Now, again, this depends on what you're applying for, because if you're applying for a graphic art situation, then maybe you do want a very fancy looking resume. But in general, fancy formatting can waste a lot of space. And I'm all for a good looking and well formatted document. Don't get me wrong. You want it to have some kind of style, but just be careful that you're wasting space with margins that are too wide or blocks of design that aren't text, that really aren't relevant. It's really easy to run out of room for the essentials when you're using some of the resume templates. So when you're choosing, if you are using a template, and I caution people about that too, but if you are using a template, just pay attention to that. How much white space is on there? How many architectural designs, if you will, are on this piece of paper that might be a good place to put bullet points or something else that would be of more use. So take a look at the fancy formatting and ditch the photo if you don't have to have one there. Number 4, references. You don't need to include your references on your resume. And you also don't need to state the obvious by including that old school line at the bottom that a lot of people put in, references available upon request. You know what? Everyone knows that. It's kind of like leaving the answering machine message instructions. You know, hi, I'm not home right now. Please leave a message after the beep and be sure to include your name and phone number and a number I can call you back at. You know what? I don't think there's a person on the planet who doesn't know how to leave an answering machine message or doesn't know that you have to wait for the beep. I mean, we've had this technology for so long. So it's like that with resumes. Have a separate sheet with your references listed on it and bring that with you to an in-person interview. Or if you're doing a virtual interview, have it on a sheet of, a file that you can email easily to somebody, have it all queued up and ready to go. But don't bother to talk about your references because referencing your references, is a big waste of space. So just leave that off, and everyone knows that if they want your references, they'll ask for them and you will provide them. You don't need to state that. Okay. So that was the 4th thing. And the 5th thing is you can reduce your contact info that you usually have listed across the top. So you don't need to have your name on one line, the street address where you live on the next line, the email on the next line, the phone number on the next line. That's a lot of space, right? You don't have to have those things in super large font either. You can even leave your street address off if you are running out of room, although it is sometimes good because people want to hire people who live nearby in some cases. But what you can do is try to keep your contact info, which definitely has to be on there. It absolutely has to be on there. But try to keep your contact info in one line if you can. I know some of the templates have your name in giant font across the top, and that's fine. But the rest of it, your email, your phone number, and your address can be in one line in fairly small font, smaller font than the rest of the resume. Because it doesn't need to take up so much room. See how you can make that more efficient space-wise, and if you can. And you will thank yourself later when you're trying to include all the other key bits of information on the page. And again, resumes 2 pages maximum. 1 page is better. If you are a professional applying for a professional position and you have a lot of history, that could be really, really hard. If you absolutely, utterly have to, you could do 2.5, but really 2 pages is the maximum. And you can shorten things by just putting them into bullet points and listing them, but not going into all the details of what the job was about, because you can expand upon that at your interview. And so you don't have, and also you can expand on all of that on your LinkedIn page. And I keep saying it is really important to have one of those if you're applying for a job. I will be doing a guest interview. I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but sometime in the next 4 months, there will be a guest interview with someone who is an expert in LinkedIn, especially for college graduates looking for work. So look forward to that. It was a very good conversation, and I'm excited about that. And there are some LinkedIn episodes in our back catalog as well, and there's lots of information online. So make sure your LinkedIn has everything on it, and whatever you can't fit in your resume, people, if they really want to dig into you, will go and search you up on that. All right, well, that is the show for today. Thank you for listening. I do have a more in-depth do-it-yourself resume video course available over at CareersbyJenn. If you want even more info on how to make a resume that will get noticed, it's called Resume Secrets, and you can find that at CareersbyJenn.com. And again, if you have a minute, please come over to YouTube. I really want to get to that 100 subscribers so that I can change the name, and I would really appreciate your help doing that. All right, until next time, stay safe, be kind, and take good care of you. You've been listening to Careers by Jen with Jen Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. You know, if every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.